This is John Groves coming to you from my home studio. And this is going to be a recording of an art related to an art companion piece to accompany the Bible talks I'm giving on the subject of war. The piece I want to share with you on your screen, and there'll be two images that appear on your screen momentarily, are a piece called "Let Us Beat Our Swords into Plowshares," now residing at the United Nations at its North Garden in New York City, and the 2 ruble commemorative coin that shows the image of the artist Evgeny Vujhedish and his years of that he lived, 1908, 1974. And in the background, you can see the same monumental sculpture that I want to share with you. Just a little bit of a coincidence that I was able to research a bit into the life of this artist and find the image of the 2 ruble coin issued on the centenary of his birth. The artist is one who was recognized during his lifetime. He's part of a movement referred to as Soviet realism, where you essentially create monuments of a lifelike nature to portray the key figures in the history and the life of the Soviet republics in a grand way. And this particular image, which I will now share with you, bear with me. This image, this statue is over 9 feet tall. So you can imagine just how powerful an image this is if you stand in its presence. And it shows a worker, masculine figure, beating down on a sword, living out the text, if you will, in the prophets Micah and Isaiah about beating swords into plowshares so that no nation will lift sword against nation, so that there's no further cause for war and the instruments of war can be turned instead to peaceful purposes to benefit humankind. The same year that this donation was given, 1959, actually December of 1959, was the year that Vujhedish was recognized as the Soviets' artist of the year. And he received many awards and prizes, and his sculptures are located throughout the Soviet Union, or what was then the Soviet Union, Russia, and other republics. I consider it a bit of an irony here that he was actually born in a Ukrainian village, then part of the Soviet Union. And now, of course, we know the history of the Soviet Union and the Ukraine as it's unfolding before us just now. One reason I wanted to share this particular image was because I have a very distinct recollection of having seen it when I was a young person. I grew up in Mexico City, and I remember my parents taking my sister, brother, and I on a road trip from Mexico City to Cuernavaca. And along the way, we stopped, and off to the side of the road, here was this sculpture. It may have been a copy, but whatever. About that time, I was just barely into my teens, if I was that old. And I remember thinking, what a powerful display. This figure beating down on steel or iron and turning the figurative sword into an implement of peace. I had no idea then what the illusions were, what the sources were, what the inspiration was that served to create this magnificent work. But it left its indelible impression in my mind and soul, my heart, so that there was just no hesitation on my part that in wanting to illustrate some facet of war, here was the image I was ready to turn to. I was honored as at its reception. Dag Hammarskjöld spoke on the occasion. He was then the Secretary General of the United Nations, and the United Nations appropriately has custody and ownership of this sculpture because the United Nations was founded as an instrument, as an organization to further the aims of peace and not of war. Anyway, just take a moment now and appreciate what this sculpture and what this artist had occasion to share with us. And I consider it just mildly ironic that the Soviet Union, an avowedly atheist message, found the profundity of a message for peace in a biblical image. The Old Testament, the prophecies of Micah and Isaiah. Thank you for allowing me to share this remembrance and this beautiful piece of art with you. Until next time.